Hey guys, it's Lavetta.
And it's Miriam.
And this is the Notorious Women Podcast, a comedy podcast about some of history's most notorious women.
Some of these queens are heroic.
And some of these bitches are horrific. But we think the most interesting thing of all is that they're all notorious.
Notorious.
Yeah, we're never going to get that synced up thing. I don't know what's going on.
It sounded synced up to me.
No.
I blame the internet gods. Okay? I sacrifice to them so much.
You know what I think's going to happen? I think we
what?
need to be in the same room. I think that's what it is.
I wish we could be in the same room.
I know.
Should I start a GoFundMe so that I could go visit you in Thailand?
Yes. You don't need it's not that expensive.
Then I get the GoFundMe real quick.
Yes.
This way I can explain to my husband and children why I have to leave. It's a business expense.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, or we could have our listeners give us a 5-star review on Spotify or the Apple Store. You know,
probably
they
a
can
better
also
idea. I agree.
tell their friends about us. Mm-hmm. You know, spread the word wide and high and wide. Is that how they say it?
If you guys spread the word aggressively enough, I could take my whole family to come visit you in Thailand.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
It would be amazing.
I love it here, so I will say that. But
we're
how
not
are
going
you?
to stay at the White Lotus because I just feel like I don't want to be around those people. Oh God, I'm fine but traumatized.
Listeners, we were just talking about it off before we came on, Mike, and by the time this comes out, though, there'll be another episode, but we're talking about episode 6, which was wild. Yeah, like,
I was like,
it's so good.
You know what's nice? That I'm not that rich. That's nice. I like it. I like that about me. Okay.
I mean, I feel like these people would still be terrible even if they were not rich, but the whole point of the show is to interrogate like how the wealthy are still miserable, right?
Right.
But
I just want to be clear that if I were wealthy, I would not be miserable.
I was going to exactly ditto.
You and I would just be living better lives. That's it.
You know what I would be doing? I'd be sitting in the corner though, watching all of the foolishness happen.
Yeah.
Like
popcorn.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I would go to the yacht party and just be in the corner drinking champagne and watching people do stupid stuff.
I'd be chatting with people, and as soon as they got awkward, I'd be like, I gotta go, and then I just leave.
Right.
And then I would chat with someone else, and then it would be weird and awkward. They'd say the weird thing, you know, as they always do.
Exactly.
Then I'd go.
Yeah, we would. But speaking of weird and I mean, interesting people to watch. Maybe we should get started on My Lady because we're doing our series, Notorious Women in Southeast Asia. Last week I kind of hinted because I like a murderess. I like a bad girl. Miriam always, she's so great. She always tries to bring in like the heroic woman. The one that we should aspire to be like, the warrior, the activist.
I'm trying to bring some lightness into this very dark world. Okay.
Oh, no, I love a bad girl.
Yeah.
I don't want to live with a bad girl, but I love to talk about a bad girl. So let's get into it this week. So my notorious woman this week is a woman by the name of Chamoy Thipyaso.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Chamoy Thipyaso.
I'm not going to try to say that because I will butcher it, but excellent.
Now, Chamoy Thipyaso was born on November 27th, 1940 in Muhuan District, Singburi Province in central Thailand.
Ooh, very close to home. Okay.
Now, there's not a lot known about her childhood, and I'll tell you why. It could be because in the West, we may not know that much about her. And But I think also just in general, like on what she did. So I think she probably obscured a lot of her early life.
Okay.
Now, in 1960, so when she was around the age 20, 21, she began working for the Thai National Petroleum Corporation.
Okay.
Which would be a very great job, for a girl, for a woman in 1960 to be working at one of the major companies in the country.
Okay.
Now, by the early 1960s, she was married to a high-ranking officer in the Royal Thai Air Force.
Nice.
And by this time, she had become a successful executive at the petroleum company. But Chamoy was extremely ambitious. And so in the late 1960s, she started a chit fund called the Mae Chamoy Fund. Now, chit fund was popular in Thailand and India around this time. So basically, the participants would make a specific payment into the fund at periodic intervals over a period of like, let's say 12 months. They are like $500 every 3 months for 15 months or what have you. Then through a lottery or auction system, they'd be paid back with interest. Basically, it's an investment fund. But they called it's something that people, it didn't necessarily go through like an investment, investment firm or anything like that. It's like maybe a group of people would come together.
It feels scamish, but okay.
It's different names for it, and I know, like a friend of mine was telling me that this kind of thing, it's not called a chit fund, but it's called like an elephant fund or something like that. It's a similar thing that you do in the Caribbean and certain parts of the world, and it's a way for you. Let's say you pay in for 6 months, right, and then you're trying to save to start a small business. So then, like, basically the participants takes turns in getting the amount that's raised. So that's the idea. So let's say like you pay in $500 for a year, right? And that's what, $6,000. So a month. So, but you would get out in a year, you could get like $7,500, and basically they take turns in raising enough money for the people, but you have to always be paying in order to qualify for the full amount you pull out. So I think that's I could be wrong, and listeners, please tell me if if I'm not explaining that right, but that's kind of like the idea behind it.
There's so much math involved, but go on.
Yeah, but it's once you get paid out, you're like, oh, this is a great idea. But I know on a smaller scale, I know people in the Caribbean or in certain parts of Latin America have done it. But it's called something slightly different. But the chit funds were popular in Thailand and India in the 1960s. So it was very popular at the time.
So she started one.
She started one called, she started one because she's an executive. So she's an executive tied to the Thai National Petroleum Company Corporation. So she's a legit like executive, and then her husband's a high-ranking officer in the Air Force. So these are middle upper class people. Like they're considered like it's something you would aspire to, right?
Okay.
Now, due to her husband's connections through the Royal Thai Air Force and her own career connections that she had made while working at the petroleum company, the fund was highly regarded from the get-go, and it was recommended by very high-ranking members of the Thai military who were among the first investors. Okay. Now, because it was also seemingly backed by the military, it seemed all the more legitimate, and then backed by a legitimate businesswoman.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and also, in addition to the chit fund, she started a company called the Petroleum and Marine Services Limited company. And so through this company, Chamoy claimed that she owned international oil transport ships.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
So she was going to be engaged in large-scale oil trading.
Okay.
So it was believed that it was backed by the oil trading aspect of the company, right? So that's how a lot of investment companies start. They started one thing, and like you're like, oh, it's backed by something, right? And it's based on trading in oil. Now this is also in the 1960s, where oil like refinery is at a high all throughout the world. So now, during her investment meetings for the oil transport company, she promoted the chit fund. And often her pitch would go something like this. She would say to people, listen, just invest 40,000 baht. Today that would be 330,000 baht. So basically $10,000.
Okay.
Just invest $10,000.
No big deal.
And in 15 months, you will recoup your investment and start making real profits. She guaranteed a 2% monthly return.
Oh, that's a lot of money. After
a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you have your money in there for 15 months, that's a great profit that you're going to make, right? So let's say you start, I'm not an economist, but let's say you invest $10,000 and then at the end of 15 months, you're getting, I'm assuming it's a crude 2% monthly return. So
that's what it sounds like.
You're getting 30% return. So if you invest $10,000, you're getting back, I don't know, 13,000. I don't know. Maybe I don't think compounded interest works like that. I think it's actually even more. So let's say you invest.
Listen, all I just heard right now was because I don't speak math or numbers. Okay, I hire people to do my numbers for me. Very necessary. Okay,
listeners, if you are a math person, please tell me if I got that wrong. But I'm thinking maybe roughly. You invest 10, you get back 15. So you've made 50%. It may not be that high, but you've made 50%. Just in that's a huge return, right? I may be way off, but that's what I'm thinking in your mind. This is the motivation for people wanting to be a part of the firm, right?
Okay, you're right.
Yeah. Now, Chamoy is extremely charismatic, which is why she was a successful executive. So her pitch often worked. So from the beginning, the fund was doing gangbusters, and it reportedly paid out enormous returns in the early part of the fund, which led to even more people signing up. Eventually, the fund would become so popular and highly regarded that it ultimately attracted over 16,000 clients, individual clients. And 14 billion baht or 118 million USD. $118 million.
That's a lot of money.
Now
for
by
50 years ago too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Now by 1984, so we're about 18, 20 years in, with a large number of politically powerful investors from the military, including even from the royal household here in Thailand, which is highly regarded. We love the royal family. Now, Chamoy was living the dream. She was doing well before, but the elevation of her status as like a high-powered executive, had this successful chit fund. Her status, that of her and her husband, was raised even more in society. She was mingling with the elites, with this kinds of things, and she was making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, initially, she had 7 other executives who ran the fund, but because it was so hugely successful, they had to expand and they had to hire a large team. But also, they needed to recruit new business. So what they would do is they would promise large commissions for bringing in new members.
Okay.
Right. So now, initially, also what I think contributed to the success of the fund was that initially only the wealthy people were allowed to participate in the chit fund.
Just and eventually create a club that most people can't join, and everyone's going to want to join it.
Yeah. And also they're getting their money back. So they're getting these huge returns. But eventually they expanded to the masses.
Okay.
Because again, people, if you have 5,000 a minimum of 10,000, right? Most people were investing a lot more. But if you have $10,000 and you're like, at the end of 15, I can get 15, I can get 12.
Let's say you have you're middle class, but you have your life savings, or you're even lower middle class, but you have your life savings of $10,000. If I invest it, what a great idea.
Yeah.
Because I'm 40 now. So at 55, I'm going to have so much more.
No, 15 months. So in a year.
Months. In a year.
Yes. In a year and 3 months.
But here's a question, though. If you leave it in there for longer, won't it accrue more and more and more?
Exactly.
Right.
That's
so
the appeal.
I actually was smart for a moment, I think, when it came to math. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, even if you say, "Oh, I'm going to leave it in there for 3 years," right? Because this started in the mid '60s, and even by the mid '80s, it was still going, right?
Yeah, so it's trustworthy. It's been around. Yeah.
Now
I don't
this
trust her
ran
at all. Go
success.
on.
Yeah. Miriam, we've been doing this too long because you know what's coming.
I sure do.
So it was highly successful until about the mid 1980s.
Okay.
When you guessed it, it was revealed that it's basically a Ponzi scheme.
I knew it.
Yeah. Now, a Ponzi scheme, for those of you who don't know, there's legitimate investing that's actually backed by an actual product. And then there's a Ponzi scheme, is just recycling the money. That's basically what a Ponzi scheme is.
And that's illegal, my friends.
Yes.
Yes.
So, as you can guess, there was no business. There was no oil trading. She didn't own It was just money, paying out money, new money, paying old money, that kind of thing.
Yep. Words. Yep.
But for context, I just want to give you context. So, Thailand at the time didn't have much regulatory laws in place dealing with the protocols around chit funds.
Oh.
So Chamoy was able to make a lot of the things up as she went along. Because remember, she started back in the 1960s, where they definitely didn't have stuff around it.
Okay.
But like all good governments, after a while, they're looking after the well-being of their constituents, their citizens, and they want to make sure they're not being cheated, right?
What's that like?
Yeah.
A government that's looking after the well-being of their citizens. I have a vague memory of that once, but not anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on.
Now, this worked for basically 20 years. So why did it stop working, right?
Yeah, that's my question.
So basically what happened in 1984, there were reports that started circulating in newspapers, basically that the government was thinking about implementing protocols and laws and regulatory laws and that kind of thing, right? So this was in the newspaper. So people who were invested in the chit fund started panicking.
Oh.
So, and they can actually trace it back to the exact day. So on August 30th, 1984, newspapers began reporting an upcoming financial regulations that were going to be forthcoming from the government.
Okay.
Investors freaked out and began withdrawing their money. A Ponzi scheme only works if the money is constantly being recycled.
Yep.
So, about 2 weeks later, on September 11th, 1984, so they started taking their money out. And then she and her people just stopped allowing people to take their money out. So about 2 weeks later,
that feels wrong.
Yeah, a large crowd gathered outside her mansion and demanded their money back.
Yeah.
And because there was all this press around it, the government launched an official investigation into her chit fund. And then the jig was definitely up.
Yeah.
Because before, if she had just started paying a little bit here and there, and I think she probably, because she's very smooth, she probably started trying to get people to kind of calm down and be like, this is part of investment, And they were like, fuck that, I want my money back, right?
If she had even been like, listen, I can get you the rest of your money right now. I can give you 10%.
Right.
And then in 2 weeks, so drag them out. There was a smart way to continue to lie and steal.
I think that only worked on certain people, because after a while, that's not going to work, especially the masses, right? Because that's everything they own, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But let's not forget, initially, one of the reasons that Chamoy's chit fund was able to be so successful is because it was associated with high-ranking people in society and the government and that kind of thing. So for a long time, it was able to be successful, and it was so successful and so entrenched. It became so entrenched in Thai society at that time that a lot of it became tangled up in a lot of financial institutions, much like Bernie Madoff. right? And it wasn't because with Bernie Madoff, some of his clients were actual institutions. With her, it was still a lot of individuals, but a lot of individuals that were connected to financial institutions.
Yeah, like he
and also
defunded.
Yeah,
Bernie Madoff defunded like charities,
big
charities that helped lots of people. Yeah, bad man. Okay.
But because she had so many, her fund had so many tentacles attached to so many different institutions. Yeah. There were some calls for the government to bail out, different chip funds and her banks, because it's like a snowball effect. When people start panicking, they start panicking, right? Now, the following year, in 1985, the government, after discussions with the king, of course, officially banned chit funds, including Chamoy's. And they also forced her to pay back taxes of 1.2 billion baht, or $30 million. Yeah. So they were like, you gonna have to, yeah. Now, if she was smart, she should have played this. She should have been like, absolutely, here's the check, da 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 da. But she did not.
Oh, girl.
She said she was going to pay the money. Yeah, but she did not pay the money.
Okay.
So the investigation, because they were like, oh, you brought this much money in and da da da. And the investigation lasted for about 4 years, 4 years.
Okay, so they're still investigating her. So she's not in jail right now.
No.
Okay.
So she had time to kind of cover her butt, but she didn't.
She did. And resources. Okay.
She should have paid the tax bill because she didn't do that. They seized her assets.
Yeah, that's what governments do.
And when they went to seize her assets, they discovered that she had withdrawn almost all of her cash out of her bank accounts.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So she's like, I don't know nothing about nothing. Chamoy's like, you saw money? I don't see no money here. She went into slave voice. I don't see no money here.
That's a direct quote. Yeah.
I don't know nothing about no money. What y'all talking about, Willis?
That's what she said. Word for word.
Obviously, when they realized that she was trying to play them for Boo Boo the Fool and took all her money out, they were not happy.
No.
So on June 18th, 1985, she was officially arrested and charged with fraud.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So they seized her property, like her mansions and jewelry they could find. And they also they found like luxury cars. But eventually they started looking around like for everything. And they found that she had stacks of cash buried throughout.
Oh my God.
Her property. Yeah. She had gold bars.
Listen, that's a fun day if you're a federal worker. You know what I'm saying? Give me another shovel.
They found about $60 million US dollars worth of assets. Now, just pay the $30 million. You had 60, I think it was like 61. Just pay the $30 million.
$30 million. And listen, the government does not want to spend any more money on you.
Yeah. Now, so they eventually calculated the loss, like I said, around $118 million, which is a huge amount of money. Now, for context, Bernie Madoff, and she had about 16,000 clients. Bernie Madoff had defrauded people in 65 billion, but that's in today's money. And he had about 4,800 clients. Some of them were charities and institutions, so not 4,800 people. Yeah. But her official arrest record was sealed. I think just the government, like if I were in charge and this happened to my people, part of me would be furious, but because you expect people to be more honorable. Yeah. Especially in Thai society, it's about, being honorable and not ripping people off. But I mean, scammers gonna scam no matter where they are, and they always gonna ruin the party for the rest of us. So
I mean, yep.
Yeah. Now, after like I said, it took about 4 years of investigation and her trial. On July 27th, 1989, Chamoy Thipyaso and her 7 accomplices, her original
they knew
cohorts,
exactly what was going on, no doubt. Okay.
Were convicted of financial fraud by the Thai court. Now, she was sentenced to a total of 141,078 years in prison. a Guinness World Record. Now, you know they were pissed. Yeah.
Damn, you're in jail forever.
Ever
I
and
will
ever
never
and
see
ever.
you again. Bye.
They were like, we want to bury you under the years because this shows you how upset they were. Just the country in general and the legal system. Because again, she had been celebrated as helping, she could be, I would imagine they were proud of her as this Thai woman that, this financial whiz and it was all a lie. And not only was it a lie, but you were ripping other Thai people off.
Right.
So,
you were actually massively hurting the whole country, like its citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go away for 140 million years. Bye.
Yeah. 141,000. Yeah.
Now,
now,
just 141,000. Calm down.
Now,
so
since Thai law at the time stated that the maximum sentence that could be served for financial fraud was 20 years or life, that is what it was reduced to in actuality.
Okay.
Now, her sentence was further reduced twice, and she was released in 1993, having only served just under 8 years.
So by 141,000, you mean 8 years. Okay.
It was obviously what's the word I'm looking for? A symbolic act.
Yes.
Because they were like, we
Obviously.
are pissed, and I don't blame them. Now, after her release, she fell off the public record and basically disappeared.
Really?
I wouldn't put it past her to have money buried somewhere.
If she had the ability to disappear, I'll put it this way. I don't have the ability to disappear. Nope. Couldn't disappear. Can't afford it. She could. So
yeah, she she definitely was or it could be just a shame of it, because I would imagine that it affected her marriage.
I don't think she is ashamed of anything. Nope.
Yeah, some of the reporting afterwards just, it's like the Bernie Madoff thing in that they love the attention and being considered so geniuses.
Yes.
But it also came down to just greed, because she had said when they opened it up to the masses originally, she told this is one report, again, I don't know how true this is, but it was reported that she basically was like, oh no, I have a plan B if all goes wrong. So basically we're going to raise as much money and then we're going to just take the money and disappear. So that was her plan all along.
Oh, okay.
But if you already have $60 million, how much more do you need? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. That feels like a very modern day question.
Yeah.
If you already have billions of
$60 million,
how much more do you need?
But let's not even say billions, because I think people can't comprehend billion. $60 million.
Put it this way.
Miriam.
If someone handed anyone I know $1 million, life-changing. Life-changing.
You are in California, so it won't go that far.
No, I can't quit my job. But
60, think about it.
Yeah.
$60 million. That's what you have. That's not before taxes. That's what you have.
Yeah.
$60 million. And she had that in 1980
something.
That's not enough? No, it's not enough. And $60 million that you got from taking from other people.
From stealing. You stole their money. That was
so
now, is her husband waiting for her? I assume no children.
Again, it was very hard to find information about the husband, I think because of his tie to the Air Force.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Which brings me to after her conviction, the Thai government obviously were mortified and very angry that their citizens had been bamboozled in this way. So they issued several measures to compensate investors who had been financially ruined, because a lot of people, the smaller people, were they lost all their money.
So what did they do?
And so they basically they seized all the assets of her and her 7 accomplices.
Okay.
And they sold everything they could, and they made good and paid the people back who had invested their money.
That shit up.
Yeah. So in 1987, also a regulation to address the issue was passed. And then chit funds were just automatically just outlawed, but to address more financial regulations. This is why you need financial regulations in place, and this is why they are in place to protect the public from being defrauded, right? Yeah. But the fight continues to address financial scammers in Thailand and all over the world. I mean, how many times do we hear about scammers?
Yeah. There's so many podcasts, so many TV shows.
So many of them, whether they're in business, religion, the private sector.
Yep.
Scammers from the Gilded Age. We've covered those on here.
Those are some fun ones.
So there's always be scammers, and even in a place as wonderful as Thailand, all it takes is one person to scam the others, right? And especially at a time in the 1960s, I think people are definitely a lot more, financially unsavvy. Like you and I, we were like, what is interest? Right. What is?
But we don't have. I feel like now there's more awareness of like what you know and what you don't know, and if you don't know something, you should. There's some resources out there to try to figure some things out. Yeah. You can. I
mean, Google is your friend. You always follow it up with more than one source.
Yes.
But you can go to financial advisors. You can get, like you said, and there's also
you go to
YouTube.
A legitimate financial advisor.
Yeah.
Who understands how these things work. I don't know.
But I hate that. The thing about her, Chamoy, is that she scammed high-ranking people. And low-ranking people. Like, she just didn't care. She's like, money's green or pink or purple, whatever. Like, your money's good with me.
Listen, she was into diversity.
Yes.
She would scam anybody. Good for her. Okay.
Yeah. So that is my notorious woman this week. That is Chamoy. Hold on. Thipyaso. Chamoy Thipyaso.
Chamoy Thipyaso. I think I
might have said that right. So it wasn't too bad. Not a murderess.
Not a murderess. Just destruction of families and homes and life savings and hopes and dreams. That's fine.
Yeah. And my heart goes out to the people who may have ended their lives and over that and didn't live long enough to be compensated by the Thai government, who I don't blame them. I would have been so pissed. And, but I love that they tried to make good, that they actually made good on their
props
people.
Props to the Thai government for stepping up and doing what they needed to do to help these families.
Absolutely.
Do we know where she is now?
No, they don't know. She's disappeared off the face of the earth. Wow. I would imagine she left Thailand if she was able to, because she can't really show her face.
If you want to fall off the face of the earth, you go to Thailand.
Right. Or if she, it's so funny if she ended up in the United States and she'd be like, I got more victims.
Oh, right
here.
now she's wiggling her fingers and toes. Let's go.
It's like the Americans are dumb. They'll fall for it.
Sure will.
Yeah. That wraps it up for the latest episode of the Notorious Women podcast. Guys, remember to follow us on all the things. You can also leave us a 5-star review, like we said at the top of the show, and you can do that on Spotify and in the Apple Store. Also, you can, if you want to help us out and not try and scam us, you can do that at patreon.com/notoriouswomen. That's patreon.com/notoriouswomen. And Miriam, how else can they find and support the show?
Oh, friends, we have an Instagram, we have a TikTok, and they are both Notorious Women Podcast. They're different, so, pick your poison. We're fun. We also have a Gmail, so it's notoriouswmpod@gmail.com if you want to email us if you have thoughts, ideas, questions, concerns. And we have a YouTube. If you're not listening to us on YouTube right now, please know that you can.
Yeah, and please subscribe over there. Download us and and say hi and look at my little afro. It's growing a little bit.
It's
Actually,
so
my hair
cute.
is longer, but it's like the shrinkage is real. So, you know.
I mean, I think you look beautiful today. So.
Today, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
Yesterday you did look beautiful. That's what I said. Oh, shut up. I would say the same thing, though.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you want to tell me how beautiful I am, I will take it. But you can do that on YouTube and DM us. And Miriam is really in charge of like the social media, and she is killing it. So go and say hi to her and like give her some props. Like she is just like, she surprises me. It'll pop up in my For You page, and I'll be like, oh, okay. So I love it.
Listen, that's my inspiration.
Yeah, and you're killing it. I'm seriously, friend, you're doing a phenomenal job. So and you are too, listeners. Thank you so much for supporting our show, and we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.